POC Network here with another unboxing, this time coming from the company MOVO. And this is MOVO's VSM-7 Condenser, large condenser microphone. It is a multi-pattern studio mic that allows you to switch between different pattern pickups. So you have cardioid, bidirectional, and omnidirectional. So cardioid, which is your typical large diaphragm, so it's just facing you. Bidirectional, it means if you want to use one mic with two different people, you can catch them from both sides. Omnidirectional means you're just picking up everything. It's kind of like a subwoofer, it just hits everywhere at once. Although instead of sending, it's receiving. But you have the three different profiles to pick from for the pickup pattern of the microphone, which allows you to use this microphone in so many different situations, depending on what you're looking for. So three different mic solutions in one, which has really become quite common in a lot of today's models, both in big brands to still very nice yet affordable ones like this. But again, it's a common feature. It's good to see that they have it on this. That shows that they're trying hard to deliver you a solid product here. It is an analog microphone, so it is XLR driven. It isn't USB or anything like that. So whatever setup you're using this in, you are going to need phantom power to be able to send power to the microphone for it to properly work. So you need a situation where it's running into some kind of a small amplifier and or a soundboard that's able to provide this power to the microphone. Now you can get some of these, especially with some of these affordable solutions, depending on what you're trying to achieve. Now if you're just a gamer and you're trying to stream online and you want a really nice mic to capture your voice with, here's an option for you, possibly, but you're gonna need some kind of a solution to power it with, right? So you're gonna need some kind of an adapter. There's many different options out there. In fact, MOVO might offer one. I don't know if they do or not. We don't know, but you can find solutions out there by other similar brands out there that are priced in the same category as this or less or more, but they usually have small little phantom power amplifiers that both drive the microphone with phantom power using a wall connection, a wall adapter, while also adapting it to 3.5 millimeter, going to your computer or other recording source. Of course, if you have a soundboard, which is definitely recommended by us, we don't really like to promote those small little affordable amps too much because they're not as reliable as a nice mixer. But if you have a nice mixer or soundboard, to be able to bring this input into and then output that with an adapter going to your computer with, that is the best solution right there. But it's going to provide phantom power, plus you have EQ and everything else. So I mean, you have a lot more power at your fingertips. But what's really interesting about this microphone is the fact that it's only $125. It's incredibly affordable, and it puts it out there with a lot of the more affordable brands that some of them are hit and miss. Some of them are, you definitely feel like you're getting what you pay for, and some of them, and those are usually cheaper anyways, like $40, $60 range. Some of them will actually surprise you. But when you get into this range, it's definitely hit or miss. It either works or you're not happy with it, and you go with one of those more affordable ones. And our expectations, discussing with the company ahead of time during CES, we have our hopes up. We have high expectations for this, and we're going to assume it's going to sound pretty decent for its price tag, because they're really trying to push up against some major players in the industry. So for one, let's go ahead and open this up. Let's see what's inside the box, see what it looks like. And then we're going to give it a little test later on and show you what it sounds like. And then, of course, you'll be able to go to POCnetwork.net where we're going to have a review about this to really let you know what we think about it once we've really given it a good test. Seem to be throwing pieces all over the ground too here. So what I just pulled out here is we have just a typical instruction manual. It's a little fold out here. It just tells you about the microphone, tells you about the pickup patterns. It gives you the specs of the microphone and including its range. And I mean, if you have any experience using mics, then you're probably, you're going to look at the specs, but you've probably already done that before you made the purchase. So chances are you're going to just take this out of the box and start using it. It's very well padded, so they definitely don't want it to be damaged in transition to you. And it actually comes pre-assembled here into its shock mount, which is cool. Everything is just ready to go. You do have some extra bands here for the shock mount in case these ever wear on you. They shouldn't. I mean, in our experience, shock mounts really last a long time. So unless you're incredibly abusive with your devices, you shouldn't have any issues there. But just in case you do, you have two extra bands here. So this should last you a very long time. Let's spin this into the right direction, and I'm guessing is the right direction at least. I'm assuming the blue button, the knob with the blue dot on here, is going to be the actual main face for your typical cardioid mode. And we'll lock this into place here. I mean, my initial impression looking at this, I mean, it has some good weight to it. feels good. It's made from quality materials. It's a good aluminum there. You have a high-pass filter right here and some silicone. Some high-pass filter options here on the side. It's just on or off, so it's flat or high-pass filter enabled. On the side here, you have your padding for 10 decibels. If you feel like you're getting too much of a punch here, you can drop that down 10 dB. And the button that I discussed here in the front here, this is what allows you to switch between your 3 polarity patterns. So you got cardioid, bi-directional, and omnidirectional. And that's, I mean, it's simple, it's straight to the point. You have your 3 options. It's nice having all that functionality right in front of you. So if you are doing your own mixing or anything like that, if you can't reach out for the board or something like that, and the mic's right in front of you, hit a button and you're good. You're ready to go. Or maybe you don't have a mixer and you're just running this into a phantom power amp and adapter, running it to the computer. Then you have some functionality directly on the mic itself instead of having to bounce between windows as you're trying to record. Trying to set settings within your operating system or software, any kind of mix software that you might be using on screen to capture the information with. The shock mount seems really solid. I like that. It's got enough tension to it, yet at the same time, it's not overly tight. It gives the microphone a decent amount of play in there to be able to move around. So, I mean, it shouldn't be moving at all. I mean, that's the idea. However, when it's on your rig, depending on what kind of rig you're using, the whole point of it is to be able to reduce things like this. Any kind of bumps and slaps into anything around the microphone, anything that might be able to pass through vibration to the microphone, that's supposed to eliminate that. So, I mean, looking at the shock mount, I don't see any flaws in it. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't do its job. And it is a screw-in base, so it slides right in and screws into the bottom right here. And then everything is isolated from the ring, of course, and then you have your XLR connection at the bottom. The pop filter is nice, has their little logo on there, MOVO, so everybody knows what kind of microphone you're using. I can't quite tell if it's 2 layers of the nylon mesh or if it's just 1. But it does look like a decent amount of thickness. I did blow into it as a test, and I don't want to do that now because the microphone's going to pick that up and it'll sound a little awkward for you, but I did blow into this and I couldn't feel a thing on the other side, so it definitely does get the job done. And then we have our final piece. It should be the final piece. We just have another thick layer of foam here. Again, incredibly well protected, and I mean, it comes out ready to go. I mean, it's all put together for you, so that's cool. But you just have an XLR cable. The fact they provide you with an XLR cable at all is pretty cool. That's a nice touch. A lot of microphones don't come with an XLR cable, so you're always having to go out and buy all these other accessories for your collection of gear. So the fact that they include the XLR cable is nice. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give it a listen. We're going to actually see what it sounds like, and we'll see what you think. And we're going to use the XLR cable it came with, even though we got all of our gear here. I mean, if I was you, I'd want to hear what it sounds like with everything it comes with. So we're going to use its own XLR connection. We're going to connect it now, and let's give it a try. So now what you're listening to is the VSM-7 by MOVO, and we have it in just regular cardioid pickup pattern right now, so it's just picking me up right in front of the microphone right now. And I was right in terms of the direction of the microphone. The logo and the blue button faces you. But this is your cardioid pickup pattern here. It's just focusing on me. So if you go to the sides like this, you're going to lose me. If I pick it up and I go to the back side of it, you're not really losing me. It's just going to kind of cancel it out. So you're not going to really focus on all that energy that's happening around you if there's anything else happening. So let's say you're recording at home, you got pets running around. It's going to be mostly a focus on your voice because that's what it's focused on in terms of this pickup pattern. And it's also important to point out, we got this nice little mic stand here. It does not come with the microphone. We just grabbed that randomly out of our gear really quick so we'd have something to set the mic on, so I'm not just holding it. But don't get your hopes up. Mic stand doesn't come with the microphone. And it shouldn't have to. I mean, because, all that money needs to go into the product itself and not so much the accessories outside of what's absolutely required, like this awesome shock mount here that seems to do a good job. And the pop filter, because it's really getting rid of the P's and the B's in my voice, so it's not popping into the microphone. Like right there, that pop should have, normally popped into the microphone, but since the pop filter's there, that's the whole point. It absorbs that. So again, the point of this is like if you're at home and you're doing a podcast, videocast, podcast, or anything like that. Let's say you're streaming a video game or something like that. You have a nice articulating arm or something coming down in front of you, and this is facing you. This is the pickup pattern you want to use for that situation. Now, what we're doing right now, the high pass filter is not on. So what you're listening to is no padding, no high pass filter. I just needed to double check where they had it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in the pad, and now you're going to get a 10 decibel pad on my voice. So it just kind of just cuts it down. So if you find out that it's just a little too loud and powerful, you can hit that button. So in case you don't have a mixer or anything in front of you, or let's say you don't want to, let's say your computer's handling all of that control, you don't want to have to switch between applications, you can do that directly from the microphone and just give it a little pad using that button. Again, we've covered that already, the usage situations for that, but just in case. And then the high pass filter, which just takes out the low end. So now my voice would have went from a little bit boomier to a little bit more crisp, because you just got that tail end that's been knocked off of the low frequencies. So and usually when like if it depends on what you're using the microphone. If you're a radio announcer or something like that, you might be wanting to get that little extra little umph in your voice. That's fine. You can just keep the high pass filter off. You also might prefer to control that from your software or from your mixer, your soundboard. But you have that option there. If you want something a little bit more crisp and detailed, maybe you don't want that boominess of your voice. Also depends on the sound of your voice. Maybe you have a naturally overly boomy voice in any microphone. You want to take that high pass filter out. If you're just doing basic speaking and you want to do an instructional video or something like that, you're not looking for that warmth in your voice, then you want to do a high pass filter, because commonly anytime you have talking heads, especially on a stage or something like that, you always want high pass filter. It's good, and it also prevents feedback. In a situation like this, we don't have to worry about feedback, thankfully. But in live sound, when you got speakers facing you, high pass filter can be your friend sometimes, or it just makes people sound good. It's crisp, it's clear, it's professional. But again, if you want warmth and boominess, you take that off, and now you're just, you just flat. And this is what the microphone sounds like, flat. Again, without the padding on, because we lifted that back up. Now the controls in the front to switch between the different pickup patterns are right here in the front here. It's that little blue button. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it to bi-directional now, which is the middle setting. Now when you switch it, it takes a few seconds. Just kind of keep that in mind. It's best to, have your mode set before you start recording, just in case, because if you're streaming live, if you decide to start playing around with that, your voice is going to get cut off pretty much. I mean, it sort of picks you up, it doesn't, because it kind of just resets itself and then goes into the new pickup pattern. So you're going to have like about 2 to 3 seconds of downtime there before it starts picking up your voice. But now we're in bi-directional mode, and what that means is it's hitting from here, and or at least capturing from here, and it's capturing from here, and not a focus on the sides. So talking in the front here, you can hear me. But on the sides, I'm starting to cancel out. You really can't. And then come back on the other side, and you can hear me again. And the whole point of that, again, is usually if you're interviewing somebody or something and you just want to use one microphone, or let's say you're capturing vocals, and you want to get, just a duet recording, and you want them to face each other. A good example of that is here in Las Vegas, we had Tim McGraw. He had a show here with Faith Hill, his wife. And it was a fantastic show, and there was a part in the show where Tim and his wife, Faith Hill, do a duet. And they didn't use a microphone like this. It was actually, I won't say we because I was there, but we used a ribbon-style microphone for that. It was an older microphone. It was fantastic. It was an antique microphone. It was expensive and very fragile, but it was a great bi-directional ribbon microphone. And he would sit on one side, she would sit on the other, and they'd get really close and turn the lights out, just have a spot on them, and they'd sing to each other, facing each other. Really captured the emotion. That's what bi-directional is for. So you can do that with vocals, you can do it with an interview, whatever case, you're capturing from both sides. That's the whole point. Obviously, if you're doing what I'm doing now, you don't want this enabled because you're going to hear everything else over here. So if somebody over there decides to make a noise, you're going to hear that as well. So we're going to switch this now to omnidirectional mode. So the switch between bidirectional and omnidirectional seemed to take another 2 to 3 seconds, actually a little bit more, 3 to 4 seconds maybe, but then it started picking up again. But now it's picking up from all sides. So everything that's happening around the microphone, I can take this and just turn it around and you're going to hear my voice no matter what. So this is omnidirectional. And omnidirectional is if you just want to capture everything that's going on in the room. Let's say you got multiple people sitting around the table or something like that, and you have this sitting in the middle for some reason. I mean, it's kind of an odd way to capture a group of people. You're going to want, isolated mics for every single person so you can capture each voice independently and adjust them and whatnot. But let's say this is all you have. Or let's just say you're trying to capture the sound of equipment or something around you that you're working with or anything like that. omnidirectional is a good option for that because it's just picking up everything, you know, and or if you're moving around, or let's say you're sliding back and forth across a desk or something like that, you know, it's going to be a little bit easier. You're not going to have to move the microphone with you or anything like that because, again, it's picking up everything 360 degrees around the microphone. So that's omnidirectional. Now what I did is I switched it back to cardioid, just basic, you know, straight on, nothing else, because we want to just cancel all that stuff out. We don't want to hear all of that. Again, this is a very isolated room, but these large diaphragm microphones are really, really sensitive to picking up room noise. So you're going to get a lot of going on in this microphone likely, especially because of the fact that's really important to point out is that what you're hearing is raw. We are not going to edit this in post or anything like that because usually we take out stuff like that. Anytime our guys put all this stuff together, all that, any kind of background noise and any interference, you know, that can get in the way of things of sounding perfectly crisp and clear, they usually try to get rid of all of that. But in this case, we want to be able to show to you as a content creator, what is it going to sound like? What are your expectations going to be when you get this out of the box and plug it in? What are you going to be facing when it comes to editing? You know, and then compare this to other microphones that you might have or have experience with at least. So again, you're always going to pick up some room noise. It's bound to happen, you know, but how much could depend on this microphone compared to some of these other mics, you know, but this is what it sounds like. It sounds pretty decent, but we're gonna definitely spend some more time with this microphone and develop an opinion amongst many of us who get to sit and play with it for the next couple days, maybe compare it to a few others and let you know. And we'll do that at POCnetwork.net with a full review in the next day or two once we have all that information put together. Again, you don't get the mic stand, but you do get this fantastic mount here, which most large condenser microphones should come with a mount, hopefully. Usually they do. Some of the more affordable ones may not if you get the really, really, really affordable ones, but those aren't really worth buying to begin with. You know, you do want something that you're going to be able to depend on, you're going to trust, comes with what you need, and especially if it has a wonky connector or something like that, you don't want to be stuck with trying to figure out, well, which one do I buy or anything. Everything comes with it except for the stand. Again, that's ours. But you get the cable, that's a bonus. You get the awesome shock mount, you get the pop filter, and again, $125. So use the comments below. Let us know what you think. You know, fill in with some opinions there. Maybe you have this specific microphone and you have some input or suggestions you'd like to offer everyone. Regardless, use the comment section. Let us know. What do you think? What does it sound like to you? And would you add this to your arsenal of audio gear? And of course, subscribe. Click that subscribe button, follow us, because we have many more videos to come that we'd love to share with you. So comment, subscribe. As always, we thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time. If you want to stay on top of all the latest and greatest, and or at least the gadgets we cover, remember to subscribe right here. Subscription button. Click it. You're going to want to. There's lots of videos, interviews, previews, all sorts of stuff. Button. Click it.